Ready?
Here we go. I feel like estate planning is one of those things we all know that matters, but it still somehow ends up in the category of we're going to get to it eventually, right next to organizing photos and cleaning out that one drawer. Like, yes, it is important. We know it is, but also not today. Until something happens or you start having real conversations and you realize this isn't just paperwork, this is a lot for the people that you love. And I also think for a long time it felt something that you do later or something that doesn't really apply to you yet. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Navigating Between the Lines. I'm your host, Maggie File. I have had a lot of conversations lately about estate planning or this is what's in the plan from a lot of avenues in my life. It's one of those things where we are like, yeah, we should probably do that. And then everyone just moves on. But I also keep thinking about this from a mom's perspective because when you have a baby, they send you home with a list. Doctor's appointments, diapers, feeding schedules, apply for a social security card. Like you're handed a newborn manual, but no one says, hey, do you have a plan in place if something happens to you? No one says, do you have a will? Do you know where your accounts are? Would someone know what to do? We are fully trusted to keep a tiny human alive, but not prompted to have a plan for what happens if we're not here. And beyond that, how to set our families up for success for the long term. How things are handled, where things go, what life looks like beyond just the day-to-day. So today's guest is Matt Eilers from Medalist Wealth Management. I said that correctly, right?
Yes, you got it. Yeah.
Okay. But also someone I know in real life, not just professionally. One of the things I like about Matt is we listen to the same 2000s music.
That's right.
And he's one of those people where you start talking casually and then suddenly you're like, wait, this is actually really important information. So Matt, I'm super glad you're here today.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Maggie.
Welcome to Navigating Between the Lines. Real quick, I know this answer, but for the listeners today, why are you the right person for this conversation today?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a dad, parent just like you. Got 3 boys. So I love the topic, and I love that we're thinking about all this stuff through the lens of like, how do we take care of our kids? How do we make sure that they're squared away? So that's number one. But number two, Medalist Wealth Management is my firm. I've been in financial planning in that arena for almost 2 decades now, and it spans a lot of different avenues. But a big part of it is advising people on different estate planning strategies. Which here's the thing, like for anyone that's listening in, that I just want to say, I'm a small town kid from Whitehall, Michigan. When I heard the word estate as like an 18-year-old, I thought this is like, lifestyles of the rich and famous, billionaires and stuff. But it's so much simpler than that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can simplify some of that today
No,
for
I'm glad
anybody
you
that's
said
listening.
that because I said that too.
Yeah.
You think it's like something, just like you said.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to you. But in reality, like if you own anything or you have brought another life into this world, it really, really matters. And I think there's just some really important stuff to do. So my world is inundated with helping people make sure that they've got all these different boxes checked off, and whether it's in like financial related terms or making sure what they've done with their wealth doesn't get messed up if something happens to them and they're gone, and making sure that their kids get it the way that they want, and giving them help and all that. So
So
yeah.
you do all avenues of the plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to ask this the way people are actually thinking it.
Mhm.
And you did kind of answer, but who really does need the estate planning?
Yeah.
Like, like we said, for a long time, you assume it's for something later or for people at a different stage of life. But when should people start to think about that?
I think there's a couple things. When you turn 18, there's some certain things that you need to be thinking about. So take yourself back to when you're an 18-year-old. I'm an 18-year-old. I hear this and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to go to college and try to do all these things. If you're an 18-year-old with like a really good head on your shoulders and you're starting to own things, like maybe you own your first vehicle, or you buy a house in your early 20s or something like that, you need to have a plan for what's going to happen if something happens to you with that asset. So as soon as you have an asset, and that can be
A car.
a car, seriously.
That's like what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, a lot of 18-year-olds are going to hear this, like, my parents are dealing with that. But But, there's some different individuals. I think the biggest turning point for somebody is when they become parents.
Mhm.
That's a big deal. And, like, the concept or the term estate planning, honestly, it just means making sure you have the right legal documents in place.
Mhm.
It's just paper, making sure you have the right paperwork that's notarized that tells somebody how your stuff needs to play out if you're gone. So, like, hearing that term, I think can be overwhelming because you're like, oh my God, I got a plan for it. It's not that bad because all we need to do is make sure that everything that you've built is protected
Mhm.
if you're gone and that the right people get it the way that you want them to get it. And things can be left behind the way you want it to play out, not how somebody else is interpreting it. So that's what estate planning does. And just using the right legal documents that are it's not that hard to take care of these, can just script that out so it can play out the way that you actually want it to.
Well, thank you for simplifying it like that because I I it can be it makes me like a little I get a little uncomfortable
Mhm.
because you go I mean, I've been in these meetings
Yeah.
and you're saying, "Okay, who's gonna get my kids?
Yeah.
What age would they get money?" It's like
Yeah.
things you don't really wanna
Yep.
think about, but what happens, and I wanna know, have you seen this play out when somebody doesn't have a plan? When
Mm.
and they maybe tragically or something happens unexpectedly and they pass away, who what happens? Who's gonna
Mhm.
make those decisions?
That's where that's like the worst case scenario,
Okay.
and I have seen some examples of that play out. What happens there is someone else is making the decisions. So if it's let's just think if we're talking about children,
Yep.
and there wasn't guardians named in some of these legal documents, people are gonna be stepping up and either saying, "I'm gonna take the kids," or the kids are gonna say, I wanna go to, aunt and uncle," or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. It can get really messy, especially if people are now starting like a tug of war. Maybe
Yeah.
there's the one aunt that felt like, "Oh, I should do this," but the kids don't wanna go with the aunt. They wanna go with grandma, grandpa, or like whatever it is. So without the parents just naming the guardian, which that's not an easy conversation. Like my wife Steph and I, Steph, we really that it took us a long time to figure out who the heck we were gonna name,
Yeah.
like years.
Yeah.
Because, as life evolves, like, the people that come in and out of your life,
It can
it
change.
changes so much. That's a hard one, and I encourage people, like, "Look, have the conversation with your spouse or your partner about, like, what do you wanna do? Like, who do we trust? And
Mhm.
who actually would do this if they had to step up?" So that's just thinking about, like, who's gonna care for them.
Right.
What if we have, like, these financial assets that maybe are supposed to go to them, and we haven't done the, like, estate plan, we haven't gone and created these legal documents. What happens is there's a process called probate, and probate it's not something that you wanna go through, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
what probate is it's basically the process of the courts deciding on what to do, and if you just have a will, that doesn't keep your assets out of probate, um, believe it or not. There's a lot of other things that can keep your assets out of probate, like naming beneficiaries on your accounts or having a trust, stuff like that, but a will just kinda gives direction to a judge to try and interpret what you want to have happen. So,
Okay.
um, it but it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna play out that way because family starts to come out of the woodwork during probate processes, whether it's to, like, care for kids or maybe it's all right, some of these assets are getting distributed, and now all of a sudden you got cousin Johnny who's like, "Well, I drug deer for Uncle Tom on this land for 25 years, and he said I get the hunting land." And
No, totally.
there's the black sheep sister who moved away that comes back and says, "Well, mom's tennis bracelet was always going to be mine," and like all of this crap
Yeah.
that it happens because families are messy, right?
Right.
You can avoid it all by just literally writing out what you want to have happen. Who's gonna care for our kids? What's gonna happen with our stuff? What are they gonna get? When are they gonna get it? Not the easiest thing to decide on, but creating those documents, it's not difficult. It really isn't.
Well, and it's just so important because I keep even thinking about situations where things are planned. I mean, our parents are getting older,
Yeah.
grandparents, if you still have your grandparents, and when they pass away, how much there is that's still to handle is crazy. So
Yeah.
I can't feels like a lot if it's not set up. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
It is. It's overwhelming for the family that's dealing with it all, and, what I
I'm
just
glad
encour
you said about the messy families too, because I mean, I feel like we hear this in our real life. You
Yeah.
always hear something happening and there's like a story with it.
Mhm.
And I don't know why it makes me, I'm like, it should not be that way. Like I never want to get to be aged,
Mhm.
right? Well, I want to be aged. I'm saying like I never want my kids fighting over anything. That
Mhm.
will make me feel like I did
Yep.
something wrong,
Yep.
you know?
I'll share with you a story that my mom would give me full permission to tell this story. Um, so I don't have any grandparents left, but my papa, we called him, my
Yeah.
mom's dad. So my nana passed in 1997, and papa remarried years later. He ended up remarrying basically. So they had a group that would play bridge every single week,
Yeah.
and it was basically the other couple. Her husband had died, so they kind of got married for like companionship. Her name was June, and so they got married, and it was wishy-washy in the family. It was kinda weird, whatever, and eventually, my papa passed away, and he just kinda trusted that she was gonna do the right thing.
Oh,
All of her kids got all of his inheritance, and my mom and her 4 siblings got nothing.
come on.
Nothing. Nothing was in writing, there was no legal documents. It was one of those things that he thought it was gonna play out the way that it should. So, that was a kind of a close to home example where I'm like,
Oh,
"Are you kidding me?" Like, all it just needed to be spelled out,
totally.
or assets held in trust with stipulations. It was kind of worst case scenario. Now, granted, they weren't like multimillionaires to where
It
people
doesn't
but it
matter.
was the principle.
Yep,
Like, my mom cared more about there was pieces of furniture that she wanted, family heirlooms that she didn't get, that were more important than any amount of money that they would have ever received, that all coulda just been solved by, um, just putting some things in writing and making sure that it's legal, and it didn't happen. So, it can be avoided if you're listening and, like, you've thought that this is overwhelming. It's really not. You just gotta talk to someone that can help you with it, and
totally.
talk and have some dialogue with your spouse if you have one.
Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is it's really just even in my mind, I'm probably make it more complicated than it needs to be, but if we can do anything, it's just because you're already gonna be in a hard situation. If we can make it even a little bit easier
Mhm.
for the people we love,
Yep.
we gotta do it.
We have to, and we're talking about something that's inevitable.
Mhm.
We're all going to die.
Yeah, it's a one-way path.
Right, we just don't know when, and we don't know at what stage of life it's going to occur, and but if we own stuff and we have kids, like, this it's just a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Yeah, and you don't have to be, like, super savvy about all this to get it done.
Yeah,
You find an estate planning attorney that can draft the documents, or there's, like, online stuff that you can do now to if it's a very simple thing where you're just like, "Alright, I wanna name, executor of the state, I want a financial power of attorney, I want a medical directive," like, it's not that difficult or that expensive these days.
okay, that's good to know. I wanna ask this too. Do you
Mhm.
typically see one person handling all of this in the household?
S
Like, is it you know?
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, a lot of the times, and I really try and help families push the reset button on that
Yeah,
to try and get, like, a disengaged spouse engaged.
totally.
And I see in a lot of 'cause our firm, we tend to deal with a lot of retirees,
Yep.
as an example. A lot of them come through our doors, and it's usually one or the other that manages the kind of the finances in the house, and I'm never right at guessing which one it's gonna be because, sometimes it's the breadwinner, sometimes it's not, sometimes they're both breadwinners and one just likes it more. You never know, but there's a lot of, like, blind trust out there, which is good in a relationship. You trust your partner, and sometimes you're just like, "Cool. I know they're taking care of it." But I think the alarming thing that sits with everybody is, well, what if something happens to them and now we're like, "Where's all this stuff?"
Totally.
Like, "What accounts do we have? I don't know how to log into this website. Who's our guy here?" Like,
Yeah.
that's where it's like, "Alright, that's we can't let that happen." So,
That
for
was
I'll
gonna be my next question, yeah.
yeah.
So should both people know, maybe not everything, but at least something, or there should be, like, a document maybe somewhere where all
Yes.
this
Yes,
Okay.
100%. So, like, we
So
have
for all the women listening that do not take control of your finances, you guys, you gotta know.
yes. So, like, a couple things that we do to try and circumvent this is, like, through our planning process, we don't just let one spouse come in. We say, "Both of you have to come in."
Okay.
Because I wanna sit with someone and be like, "Look, this is what we're building, and if anything happens, you call me."
Yep.
And when we build their plan, like, we give them a physical thing that they take, and the first page when you open it up is, "In the event of emergency, here's who you call." Because I don't know who's gonna open that folder.
Oh
Could be a
gosh.
spouse, it could
Yeah.
be a child, it could be I don't
I've
know.
done it before. Good
Yeah,
at you've ever been on a plane and you're
yep,
thinking like, okay, worst case scenario. I've texted my neighbor before, just so you know, there's a little blue if something goes down.
yeah,
Cause there's a fear base sometimes now. I mean,
yeah,
I've lost my mom and then
yeah,
there's this fear,
yeah,
like, oh gosh, what if something happens to me? Anyway, not
yeah.
to derail, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's gotta be engagement, and, make a thing out of it. Go on a date and just talk about this stuff. Say, "Hey, we're gonna go on a date and let's have an agenda, like, let's solve this tonight. Let's just have dialogue about it,"
And
and
make it fun.
yeah,
Ugh, this
and
is a not
because
fun
otherwise
situation.
I mean, you know how it is. You're super busy, your husband's busy, we have families, we have activities, we have businesses, we have
Totally.
all this stuff. It's hard to sneak in these conversations to get alignment, but we have to have it.
For sure. That's what I mean. You're always pushing it off
Yep.
for the most part.
Yep.
Okay, I wanna talk about families
Mm.
specifically. If you have young kids right now, what are the non-negotiables?
Non-negotiables. I think you need to have life insurance.
Okay.
So because if something happens to both of you or just the breadwinner, we need income replacement right away for these kids,
Yeah.
to cover their lifestyle and their everything that they need and to save for the kids. So I think that's a big one right there. So
Okay.
figuring out how much somebody needs that talk to a financial professional about that. But also naming a guardian in the event that something happens. We
Mhm.
got to figure out what that might look like. Um, and talk to that person, make sure they know that
Sure.
they're on the list.
No, I was gonna
Um,
ask you that. Yeah. Do you talk to the do you tell the
yeah,
people you do?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think they need to be on board.
Yeah.
That would be a heck of a surprise. I think if you name them, they're probably the type of person that's going to step up. But I think
Totally.
that they shouldn't be surprised by that.
Yep.
Um, so naming a guardian, that's huge. Having life insurance, that's absolutely huge. But then also having a last will and testament in place that just kind of names some stuff.
Okay.
And so here's the big one. Beyond the will is forming a trust. So if you hear this thing and like when I heard,
Also, when you tell me this
Mhm.
makes me feel like you like a trust feels like for somebody who has a lot of stuff.
I know. That's how what I always thought too. So because you hear the term like trust fund babies and
Yeah.
everything, right? So
I'm thinking like Hamptons, like
I
this
know.
Gossip Girl life.
Yes, that's what I always thought it meant too.
Yeah.
A trust is just a legal entity on paper that can own something. And when you put something in a trust, it avoids probate.
Okay.
So anything that's in there avoids going through the court process.
Mhm.
You have an executor of your state, which is the person that's going to make sure all this stuff gets done the way that you want it to get done, not somebody else. And the stuff that the trust owns, which typically when you pass away, the trust becomes the beneficiary instead of the kids. So let's just say you've got a big financial account.
Mhm.
Instead of naming two children 50-50 on the account and then it just goes to them, the asset flows into the trust now
Okay.
upon death. And now the trust says, here's how it's going to be distributed to the kids. Because
Got
a lot
it.
of people don't, if their kids 18 years old, they don't want them getting $1 million dropped in their lap
Right.
because they're going to go buy a Cybertruck and shoes
Blow it.
and yeah,
Yeah.
below it. Now you can stipulate and you can say, all right, I want this much to be distributed every year, or I, I, I want lump sums for weddings and first houses
Yeah.
and at
So you can set
milestone
it all up.
ages. You can do whatever you want. But if you don't have that document, it's up to the courts
Yeah.
on what's going to happen. And most of the time, they're going to drop it in their lap because there's nothing that says otherwise.
I gotta tell you this story. When I was born, thinking about, kids and like longevity. So when
Hmm.
I was born, August 9th is
Hmm.
my birthday. We're also
Hmm.
you're an August
Yep.
baby too.
12th. Yep.
August 12th, Leo's in the
Yep.
house. My grandpa went to the bank
Mhm.
So I think the date was like August 11th on it and
Mhm.
got a savings bond.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was born and that's what he was thinking about, which is so cool. Those
Yeah.
just became mature. Like I just cashed him in
Yep.
last year,
That's cool.
which was really, really cool.
Uh-huh.
So I think about that, like,
That's that's
but
awesome.
it I'm saying this story because I have 2 kids.
Mhm.
They have birthdays, Christmas.
Yep.
They get money for those things.
Yep.
Random Easter, 20 bucks, whatever,
Yep.
little dollar amounts here and there. Is there something we can be doing, like, with this amount of money with these kids?
Mhm.
Because I mean, just throwing it in, like, a savings account
Mhm.
or,
Yeah.
I mean, I got one spender, one saver,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that money does add up every year.
Yep.
Say it's a few $100.
Yep.
Is there a better way to be doing something with that money?
You just opened a can of worms.
Okay.
I have so much to, like, think out loud with you through
Yeah.
this. It's yes, there's a better way. And it comes down to I think, like, we have an opportunity now to help these kids make money, but let's turn them into investors young,
Yeah.
not just savers.
Okay.
Let's teach them about money and teach them financial literacy through like, I'll give you an example. We opened a custodial account for Jack, my oldest,
Mhm.
and, at Charles Schwab, and he gets to go and pick the stocks that we put it in. He's got, like, $400 in this thing.
So cool.
But what we did, we made a thing out of it. I'm like, "Alright, Jack, this is how we're gonna research these stocks." I'm like, "What are the things that you think are cool?" And we went and looked them up. He's invested in Nike and Hershey's.
Okay. I
Um,
like
and
it.
and we, like but it's for him now, he's got this involvement. He's kind of, he's got some he's vested in it a little bit. He cares more versus like, I got $20 from Aunt Rhiannon and it's over here now. And like now he's thinking about it more. There's a little
Mhm.
bit more gravity around it. So, but in regards to like how can we get more bang for our buck? It all comes down to what do we want to save for in the future? Um, do we want to save for college or not?
Mhm.
Some people are, yeah, I want my kids to go to college. No, I don't want them to go to college. I want them to be business owners. Cool. If you want to save for college, get 529s. Those are college savings accounts that, parents get a tax deduction for what can go in there, it grows
Okay.
tax deferred, kids could use it tax free for college purposes. If they're not on a path to go to college, maybe there's a family business or you're just like, screw college, I'm not paying tuition and all that. You can look at custodial growth accounts like an UTMA or an UGMA, which is it's just fancy lingo for an account that is the kid gets control of when they're legal adults, but a parent can kind of it's like what Jack has. So
Okay.
it's an account that you can say, all right, we can put it in here and you can invest some of this if you want.
Sure.
We can buy mutual funds or we can
Yep.
whatever makes the most sense there. Um, if they're babies, especially right now, I think anybody listening, if you've had a baby recently, you should get them a Trump account. These are the new accounts that are going to be funded with money from the government, first $1,000. Um, and then parents can add more into that, and then you don't have to been a newborn to get one. You just don't get the $1,000.
I don't even know what this
So
account
it's
is.
it's this new savings account that he created. It was announced in the Big Beautiful Bill Act, and it launches in July of this year.
Okay.
But the government is seeding $1,000 for kids that were born during a certain time.
Yeah.
So if you've had a newborn within like the last year, they qualify. They're going to get $1,000 in this account, and
Okay.
then parents can add up to a certain amount a year that they want. At age 18, it turns into an IRA, which is just a retirement account.
Yep.
So literally, like you could build a retirement account for them early that like think about all of a sudden now you got a kid. If at 18 there was, let's say 10 grand put in this thing over 18 years and it was
Yeah.
compounding, they have a lot of money by the time they can use that in retirement. Like a lot of money
So I was going to ask you this. What matters more, starting early or putting in more later?
early,
Okay.
starting early.
And
Yep.
say you think like we don't really have that much
Mhm.
extra money
Yep.
at the end of the month.
Yeah.
I mean, $25, like
Seriously, every little thing. It's Is such a good question, Maggie, about, like, early versus putting it a bunch later.
Yeah.
Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world,
Okay.
and starting early is such a big deal, and, like, I'll give you an example. We go back to, like, when COVID times hit.
Yeah.
Financially, everyone went through a bunch of stuff. In our household, my salary got cut 60%. It was gnarly, and we have auto contributions for the boys' 529s, and we were cutting things left and right to
Mhm.
just to get through that turmoil. But that was one of those things to where we weren't gonna eliminate it, we just lowered it.
Okay.
We lowered it down. I think we were doing I put it down to, like, literally $25 a month per
Yeah.
kid just to keep something going in.
Yep.
But you can have an account like this, and you can fund it with whatever you can afford. And that just comes down to knowing your budget
Yep.
and knowing how much that you wanna save. It makes such a big difference. Like, I look in these kids' 529s now, and we've only dumped in, like, a decent amount of money once for each kid, and there's a lot of money in these things
Yeah.
just from these little monthly
Monthly,
contributions that
because it all adds up.
it all adds up, and it's invested and it's growing.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's really good to think about because I still think sometimes around this conversation, it can just feel overwhelming, but I
yeah.
love to hear that,
Yep.
that a little bit
Yeah.
consistency.
Yep. It's all about consistency, and I think all of this, if we're saving for our kids, whether we're saving for their first car or we're saving for college or, whatever it may be, it's an opportunity for us to teach them something because we know they're not learning this stuff in school.
Mhm.
You know, these seniors graduate, they don't know what a budget is, they don't know how to write a check, which we don't really write many checks anymore these days.
I write
Yeah.
checks all the
Do you?
time.
Nice.
I'm an
I love
old
it.
school.
I love it. Do you balance your checkbook?
I mean, I don't balance my
Yeah.
checkbook, but I do. I mean, I know I look at our bank all the time.
Yep.
It's like my thing.
Yep.
I think that's just probably because I owned a business.
Yeah.
It was like one of those I have that
Yeah.
brain,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, that doesn't turn off when you sell a business, that's for
No.
sure.
So funny.
No, but I think, like, we can teach these kids something. I grew up, we had a mason jar system for, it was basically teaching us a budget. We would get our allowance, and then
Okay.
we would have to divvy up our allowance into different mason jars and pay family bills.
Okay.
So they were teaching us about this at a very early age. The first jar that we had to pay was our church tithe.
Yep.
So 10% of our allowance would go in there. And then it was, all right, family vacation. Let's all kick in a little bit. We'd put 50 cents in there or something. There was, movie night. There was saving for different things we were going to do. We also had a swear jar, which basically my mom would go grab stuff from the other jars and start filling in there, and that would all go to the church. Somehow that was always the jar that was the heaviest, but
That's hilarious. No, I think that's a really good point too. I didn't have that question, so thanks for bringing that up.
mhm,
But it is something to really consider that a lot of these kids, I'm saying kids, quote,
mhm.
just like that are in college right now, don't understand like how it
No,
works,
they
right?
don't have a clue. They don't understand how credit cards work. They don't know what it means to go get a mortgage. They don't know how to do taxes, like their tax return, or what that even means, or how to withhold from their paycheck. Like, this is all stuff that can be taught. And I think
And it's really important
it's
because,
so
like you said,
important.
I keep going back to the car because this was like when our kids turn 16, it's coming. They're
Mhm.
probably going to want a car. And I was gifted a car when I graduated. A Ford Focus station wagon. Yeah, I took it to college and I drove that thing for like 8 years.
Yeah.
But my dad bought that for me.
Yep.
And when I sold it, I think I sold it for like $1,200, which
Mhm.
is insane.
Yeah.
And I kept that money,
Mhm.
right? So it was like a gifted.
Yep.
I know like everybody has a different family dynamic, but I've been thinking about this car situation a lot more than I
Yeah.
need to. I think because I'm going to have a driver in like 4
That's
years,
crazy,
which is
by the way.
insane.
That's crazy.
But I'm like, as a parent trying to teach my kid financial responsibility,
Yeah.
am I giving him a car? Is he helping to buy the car with maybe some of this money that he's been saving? Like,
Mhm.
do you have is this a weird question?
No, I think it's a really good question. It's so ironic because 'cause I'm not kidding you. On the way to school this morning,
Yeah.
my oldest Jack is talking about, Dad, what's my first car going to be that you're going to buy me? And I'm like, I don't really like that question
Yeah.
because, like, I think you and I grew up with similar backgrounds.
Small
I grew up
town.
small town, like, pretty poor for the most part, I would consider. I wasn't given a lot. I had to kinda hustle and grind for anything and save for stuff. My parents helped me with the first car,
Yep.
but I had to kick in some money for that Plymouth Caravan, that
Love that.
blue van which I was instantly the coolest kid in my grade because all my buddies could fit in the van.
Okay, well, hang on, I gotta go. When I was 16, I did have a red minivan too.
Did you?
Yeah, it was my mom's, and every football game, it was, like, amazing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I am with you on that. Okay.
I swear we had, like, 19 kids in this van at
Oh,
one
it
point.
was, like,
Yeah.
the
It
best.
was so good.
I'm pro minivan
Oh,
for a 16-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my opinion is I don't wanna raise brats,
Yeah.
you know? Like, my kids are growing up not the way that I grew up,
Yep.
and Steph and I talk about this all the
Same.
time. We're like, "We need to make sure that they're not entitled little brats," and they're not, but, like, I need them to have some skin in the game
Mhm.
on some different things, which is why, like, we've done some budgeting stuff. We do chores for allowance, like Jack learning about stocks, and I show him his college account. We talk about it,
Okay.
and I actually talk to him about taxes, and to help him understand what that means. Jack started a business. He's got a eBay business
Oh,
selling
he did.
sports cards now.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
so he's learning about.
Maybe I can give him some
Yeah, yes, we'll
to
take him.
sell.
We'll take him and sell, and we can work on a commission there. No, but like I think that there needs to be some skin in the game. I just don't want brats that, like, feel like everything's just given to them and they don't understand what it means to work for something. So, like, Jack is gonna save for his first car. I don't know what it's gonna be, but we're gonna make him kick in something.
Which,
And
because when I was a kid, I don't know if you had this, but it was like, you don't talk about politics,
yep,
you don't talk about religion,
yep,
and you don't talk about money.
yep,
And so I'm kinda always stuck with this thing, like, I don't want my kids to know how much things cost
yep.
or, that, but they're old enough now that like, Chloe says all the time, "Well, that's a lot of money, mom." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, good, she does have some,
Yep,
reference of
yep.
it." But this is really good, advice just to be able to speak that, like, taxes is a big one.
I know. Jack asked me the question a few weeks ago. He's like, "Dad, why do we have to pay so much in taxes when the government just prints money all the time?" I'm like, "Dude, like that's a really good
That's
question.
a really good question. I
There's a lot going on there,
We're
buddy,
not
but
gonna get to that
yeah,
answer today.
you're figuring it out. You've started to understand what the heck is going on."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
I know. I just think like it's on us. No one else is going to teach him this stuff.
Yeah.
And if we don't teach him, someone else is going to try and give him their version of it,
Yep.
and it might not be the version that we want. So let's show them like this is how it actually works and happens, and I think they can be more successful.
Mhm.
I want my kids to be. I want them to understand investing and saving and all that before they leave our house.
Yep.
So they're going out, and I don't want to bail them out. I can't stand it when I have family members or friends where I see them make stupid decisions and they just get the bailout from the parents. I'm like,
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't that hard.
Right.
Figure it out, do some research, or talk to someone and just ask them for advice
Mhm.
so you don't make mistakes. And I just don't want my kids to be in that situation ever.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Kind of random,
Hmm.
but what's something, if anything, that parents overcomplicate?
Oh, probably college savings.
Okay.
Um, I don't think it's that difficult. Figure out how much money you can set aside and figure out the best tool for that account and save it. Let's just say savings in general. It doesn't have to be necessarily for college. It could be for I'm saving to help my kid with his first home or his
Mhm.
first car or whatever. Don't overthink like, oh my gosh, what do we do with it? Just figure out how much money can we set aside, start setting it aside somewhere. When there's a little bit of something there, now figure out what the best tool to grow it.
Okay.
And just talk to somebody that you trust. A financial advisor's a good example of something that can be like, hey, this is good to go, like create a brokerage account or create a 529 or like all this stuff. If you're listening and you hear these and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what these are. It's not a big deal. They're just different types of accounts with fancy names.
Mhm.
Don't let that stop you from starting to save for
Okay.
your kids. It's all like goes back to your question. It's about starting early,
Mhm.
not later.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like all of this is parents in general, in every category. It's, am I doing enough? Am I behind? Did I miss something? Obviously, every family
Mhm.
looks different and it
Yep.
all has to feel doable. So you say start early, but let's say you haven't, and now your
Mhm.
kids are getting into high school, they get their first job. What's your advice for that?
It's not too early to start. Like, start now, or it's not too late,
Not too
excuse
late.
me. Yeah, like, just get going. It'll say a kid gets a first job. This is an awesome opportunity to sit down and be like, "All right, let's look at this pay stub,
Yeah.
and let's talk about what all this stuff on here means." Because they're gonna look at it the first time, that first check, and they'll be like,
Where'd all my money
Where'd
go?"
my money go?" Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a learning opportunity to understand taxes and understand, all right, now with this money, what are you gonna do with it?
Yep.
Because you don't wanna just go blow it, because then it's gone, and you realize how hard you had to work to get that check. So I just think we have so many teachable opportunities around us.
No matter the age.
Right, and then if we do this the right way and just put a little bit of effort into it, all this estate planning stuff that we talk about, it's less of this huge, overwhelming concern because you know that your kids are gonna be good stewards of your money. That's what
Mhm.
it's all about. We want them to be good stewards of what we've worked so hard for.
Yep.
I think that we can start that early and not let legal documents be the things that are gonna try and teach them how to be those stewards. Like, we should do it, and then they should see those legal documents someday and be like, "Oh, yeah, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
I understand why it's laid out that way." And I just think we're surrounded with all these different opportunities to just help them see, like you mentioned, Chloe, you know, recognizing the value of a dollar. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah,
And I think that's a moment to be like, "Yeah, what do you think about that?" And, like,
for
you
sure.
realize how hard it is to make that kind of money and
Yeah.
and and how big of a deal it is when we get to enjoy spending that money on you guys, you kids, or on each other, or this family thing that we get to do. I think that they appreciate things a little bit different when they realize the value of the dollar.
Yep.
I've only got one kid that's figured that out so far because the
Okay.
other are 6 and 4. They're not quite
Totally.
there.
They're not thinking about
But
that.
I can see Jack's wheels turning, and we've kinda got to this phase with him where he's asking for stuff all the time for us to buy him stuff all the time. Like, "Dude, what do you think that is going on here? Like, we print money?
Yeah, money tree in the
Like,
back.
no, like, what is going on?" So, if he like, we start saying, like, We'll co-op this with you, but buddy, I know you got, like, cash up in your room that you've been hoarding from aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa and all this stuff. Like, you're kicking in some of this, and I just think they appreciate things more if they've got a little bit of skin in the game, even if it's 10 bucks
No, I love
versus,
that.
"I just bought you this,"
Yeah. No, I think that's a really, really good.
and sometimes it feels like I'm being hard on them,
Yeah.
but I know I'm teaching him something, and I
Yeah.
think that's our job. I don't like doing it all the time, but sometimes I just wanna spoil the kids because it's
No,
fun,
for sure.
right? It's
Right.
fun to do
It
that,
is
but
fun.
I don't want spoiled brats. I
Yeah.
don't wanna raise a spoiled brat?
I love that. Okay, so I love this conversation. If someone's listening though, and they're like, maybe like we lost them, along the way, like it's
Mhm.
a very overwhelming.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't even think I can do this. Or, my husband takes care of all of that. If you're a mom and she's listening, what's one little thing you would say to do
I would
today,
s
right now?
Okay, so if you're a mom and you're married,
Yep.
is that okay, so that's
Okay.
the
Or you don't have
scenario,
to be
or
married.
okay.
Just, yeah.
So if you're a mom, you don't have a partner, talk to somebody today.
Okay.
Like, talk to a professional and just say, "Hey, I just need a little bit of advice on what's best for us." Because, like, all the stuff I've thrown out here could be the right thing for one person, it could be completely different for somebody else. But talk to somebody about, like, what are the, like, mission critical things that I just need to get done, and help me do it. Like, you're not in this alone. If you hear all this terminology, like, there are people like me that can help you, so you don't have to figure this out on your own.
Okay.
You just go talk to somebody, and you come in and you say, "Here's my situation." And they're gonna say, "Okay, I think that you should do this, this, and this, and we will help you do it."
Okay.
Find that person in your life. If you have a spouse, I would say schedule an appointment with them.
Yeah.
Schedule a date. to be like, I want to get on the same page as
Totally.
you, and we should be able to write out on a napkin what's going on with our what happens if we pass,
Yeah.
or what's going on with our money. And I would just ask some questions like, hey, I want to be involved if you're not involved. But if you're the person that is hogging all the planning and everything, like,
Yeah.
say, hey, I want to show you what we're doing.
Totally.
And I want your buy-in, and I want your blessing on this, and I want this is a team,
Good.
right? At the end of the day. So I just say, like,
Make it simple.
make it simple, have the conversation. If you're in this alone, find somebody so you don't have to be.
Okay, I like that. I've got a listener question
Let's go.
for you. Okay. And this is it. So
Mhm.
$35,000 roll into a Roth from a 529, an investment tool, or only to guard against overfunding?
So what the listener is referencing is how 529s have the ability. So the 529, which is a college savings account.
Okay.
So let's just say the kid doesn't go to college.
Yep.
Up to 35,000, which is current IRS rule, you can roll into a Roth IRA. So you may be thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? He said roll, he said Roth, he said, okay, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Rolling is just transferring from one account to another, turning it into a different account.
Yep.
Okay. So what a Roth IRA is, it's a retirement account, but it's literally the best one that you could have because everything that comes out of it is tax-free.
Tax-free.
Tax-free. 100% tax-free. So like in a normal retirement account, so maybe you have a 401k or an IRA, you got a silent partner in that thing, and that's Uncle
Yep.
Sam.
Yep.
You may think, oh, I got $100,000 in there. And he goes, you got about 75 grand because the rest is mine.
Okay.
When you have money in a Roth, it's all yours. So with this whole 529 to Roth thing, I think it's a good reason to put the money in a 529. And then if the kid doesn't go to college, know that you've got this out to where, okay, we can roll it into a Roth, and now they have a tax-free retirement account
Yeah.
that they can use down the road, so that maybe they're going to retire when they're 60 years old and they have a boatload of money that they don't have to pay the piper on. It's already done. And that's a big deal because taxes suck. I hate them, and they're only going to go up.
Yeah.
For the next 30 years.
Yep.
I can't even imagine. We're right now, we're currently sitting in the third lowest tax bracket in American history, and we hate taxes where they are now.
Woof.
Third, exactly. So where are we headed?
Yeah,
Right?
not good.
No. So
So to go back to the
yep.
question, would you take that $35,000 then and move it into the Roth?
Well, you can't move it into the Roth yet.
Oh,
It's got to be later on I believe once they're over 18, that can happen.
from a 529?
I believe so. Yeah, I need to actually, I'm
Double
gonna need to
check
fact check that.
Well,
But
I know who this person is who asked this, so
okay, good.
we'll follow.
Good.
We'll follow up with
Good.
you.
That's perfect. That's
Okay.
perfect. No, but I think that a there's something to be said about thinking about rolling into the Roth or setting up a Roth for your kids if you have a business,
Mm-hmm.
and putting money into that, putting them on payroll. So I'll give you an example. My company, my 10-year-old son is on payroll this year.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes into the office and breaks down boxes and wipes some stuff down and runs a vacuum every now and again, helps us stuff folders. And I pay him a fair wage for that time, and that money then can go and he can contribute into a Roth IRA.
Love it.
So as a business owner, I hope the IRS isn't listening, but
Yeah.
screw them because they wrote these rules and
No,
we're following
totally.
it.
Yeah.
Like, we get the payroll deduction as a business owner, which
Yep.
you're familiar with. He gets a retirement account that we can pump money into
Mm-hmm.
that is tax-free and growing tax-free. So
What
there's
if you don't own a business?
if you don't own a business, you need to I would go do the 529 thing, knowing that you can turn that into Roth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have a little rapid fire
Let's go.
for you. And this is about you. Were you a spender or a saver while
Spender.
growing up? Okay. First big thing you bought with your own money.
Oh. It was a boombox.
With CDs or cassettes?
CD. No, it was both. It was the one that it was, the things you get in your room, and it was like this big, and there'd be two speakers on either
yeah.
side. You could put a tape in it and a CD player. I had to buy that. Actually, no, I'm gonna
Retract?
I'm remembering something before that. It was Nintendo.
Oh,
I had to buy my first Nintendo.
Do you
Yeah,
remember how much it was? I'm
like
just
$100.
oh my gosh,
I
yeah.
feel like it was $100.
Which is, like,
And
crazy.
I don't think I had to buy the whole thing, but my parents made me pay
Yeah,
some. But I that boombox, I paid for that thing, and the first CD I ever bought was Green Day,
I love it.
Green Day Dookie, and I put it in. I was so proud
So
to have
good.
that in my room and
Yep.
listen to my music.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. One money habit you wish you learned earlier.
Oh boy. I learned a lot of money habits. I wish I would have learned a little bit more about credit card debt.
Oh,
Because my parents didn't really use credit cards. And when I got to college, we were all preyed on by these credit card companies
yeah,
like, hey, open an account, and here's a free shirt
totally.
or whatever. And I did that and I learned the hard way on some of those. So I wish my parents maybe would have used those tools so that I could understand it. We were just always never they didn't use them. So I think that was probably I wish I would have learned about that. Maybe
That's
the
good.
negative side of it. We didn't
Mhm.
really talk about that.
Yeah. College fund, necessary or depends?
Depends.
Um, we answered this. More important, starting early or contributing more
Yeah,
later?
early, all day.
Early. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I love this. Um, this was a really
This is fun.
a fun
Yeah,
conversation.
agreed.
One thing I do, I don't know if it like fits in this conversation, but with all of my guests I've had prior,
Mhm.
I've asked them like, "Do you have anything you want to ask me?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Um, what is was there a light bulb moment in this conversation that you're like, "Okay, that made sense, and I need to have a conversation about it," or it sparked some sort of action?
I think, and again, probably because I did own a business, I feel like a lot of this stuff felt like a refresher
Mhm,
for me in a really good way.
mhm.
But I think the biggest takeaway, like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to like make sure that we have everything in place
Sweet.
because I like my mom was like my kid's guardian. I mean, we set that up forever
Mhm.
ago. And so we have not changed that
Yeah,
legally. Like, hello,
yeah,
I got to do that
yeah,
immediately. Um, so I think just how you said, don't overcomplicate it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to look at stuff that we have
yeah.
and I'm gonna write it down. I'm actually probably gonna follow up with you later and go, "Hey,
Love it.
man, what do I
Yeah,
could you help me
yeah.
put this together?" So that for me
Cool.
is really good, and for anybody listening, you guys should do that too.
I love that.
I love it. Okay, so 2 sides to all of this, right? One is protecting your family if something unexpected happens, and the other is just slowly, quietly building something for our kids over time.
Mhm.
And neither of those has to be perfect, it just has to be started. So let me see here. What else do I got? I think that's all I got.
I love it. This has been a fun conversation.
This has been really fun.
Usually when I have to talk about this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
it's with somebody that has just questions from a completely different perspective or they're a completely different stage of their life.
totally.
And this is refreshing. So thank you.
Well, good. And I hope for anybody listening, I hope that they got this out of this too, because like I said at the very beginning, I have had these conversations a lot lately, like one with an aunt,
Mm,
right? She's retiring, calling you out, but she's retiring and she's like, What should I do?" And she's asking me, and I'm like, I don't know,
mhm.
But so this is good, I think, for anybody, young family, family, kids going to
Yeah.
college,
Yep.
you're pre retirement, you are retiring. I feel like every stage of listener is going to get something out of
Yeah.
this. And that's what I love. I
Yeah.
love this. So, and if you want to share this with somebody, do it as always. Matt, you have made this easier, like
Thank you.
for everybody. It feels like one of
I
those.
told you we were gonna have fun.
I know you did. And I'm like, where's our 2000s mix? I got to go get that. But
Mhm.
this is one of those conversations that's a lot easier to have when someone else starts it for you. So
Yep.
thank you for that. You guys, any follow up questions, you know where to find me, navigating between the lines. This was a good one. Thank you,
Yes.
Matt.
Thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
We'll see you next week.